Alright gamers, we're going to be taking a small little break from the milky brain of Smite and all that kind of content. It'll still be there, don't worry, we'll get some Persephone videos up soon, but I've been playing some other games recently, and yes, Smite players, you can play other games that aren't Smite, pretty crazy, I know. But recently, I've been playing through Life is Strange. I'm a little bit late, a couple years late, but it's better late than never, and I am really enjoying the game. I'm someone who's always enjoyed deep narratives and analysis in video games and movies, and I think this is a great one to analyze. Again, it may be 5 years old already, but hey, I may bring something new to the table. It's all up to interpretation with these kinds of games. It's a very good game. It's one of my favorite games of all time now, and there are countless ideas to discuss and argue regarding the game's narrative and how deep it is. There will be spoilers of both the entirety of the first season and the prequel Before the Storm, so avoid most of my Life is Strange videos if you don't want anything spoiled, and go play the game if you haven't already. To sum up the events of the first game, you play as 18-year-old Max Caulfield, recently moved back to Arcadia Bay to study at Blackwell Academy under your favorite teacher, Mr. Jefferson. You witness your best friend Chloe get killed in the bathroom and discover that you have the ability to rewind time. Stuff happens, time travel, whatever, yeah, it goes on. The game utilizes a lot of symbolism, and today we're going to focus on one specific type that gets used throughout the game: animal symbolism. The concept of spirit animals is a consistent theme throughout the game and is mentioned many times. Max sees a translucent doe multiple times throughout the game, seemingly leading and guiding her places, and speaking to the resident custodian at Blackwell, Samuel, he makes mention of spirit animals. We'll be diving deep in determining the spirit animals in the game and who or what they can represent, utilizing religion and common cultural representations of these animals to figure out who exactly gets what animal, what do they mean, and what traits are they supposed to represent. Not every major character gets an animal, not every animal shown is going to represent something, but nearly every substantial instance of an animal showing up will be explained. This is just my analysis, and feel free to disagree or agree or leave your thoughts in the comments. There are only 3 developer confirmed spirit animals, so we will start with those. We'll start out with our main protagonist, Max Caulfield, and she gets the doe. This was commonly theorized to be Rachel's spirit animal, and while it is confirmed that she has a connection to it, it is not her spirit animal. Playing through the prequel Before the Storm and seeing both of their personalities, it definitely fits Max way more than it does Rachel. Some meanings for the doe combine soft, gentle qualities with strength and determination, also including innocence, vigilance, and being in touch with life's mysteries. Max is a very caring and kind person who grows to become very fearless and determined throughout the course of the narrative. Innocence is also a key concept, as Mr. Jefferson preys on the young women of Blackwell who are quote-unquote innocent and wants to capture the moment that innocence turns into corruption or desperation. Mr. Jefferson takes a strong obsession of Max and always notes of her having a gift. Many theorized prior to episode 5 that this was her ability to time travel, but this was quickly disproved and may rather be him noting her natural innocence at the time. Max is also quite vigilant, always aware of what her actions and time traveling may cause, and even more so after seeing alternate reality Chloe. Being in touch with life's mysteries is pretty parallel with her powers, given as it a very mysterious thing to just be gifted time travel powers from the universe. Next we'll have Chloe Price having the blue butterfly. Easy one right here, blue hair, blue butterfly, easy dub. Alright, the butterfly is symbolic of change, transformation, finding joy in life, and renewal or rebirth. While Life is Strange at its very core is a narrative coming-of-age story for Max, Chloe changes just as drastically and matures from the time of the prequel to the ending of the original game. Chloe starts off the game and the prequel being very cynical, angsty, and angry at the world, always looking for someone to blame when there's no blame to be put around. Despite her mother's efforts, Chloe does not find much joy in life and ends up being a stereotypical, depressed, rebellious teenager. The Chloe you meet at the beginning and either survive or sacrifice at the end of the game are 2 completely different people. 16-year-old Chloe in the prequel hesitates to even give her stepdad David a fist bump, but at the end of the game, 19-year-old Chloe is willing to sacrifice her life for the town that kicked her while she was down. She grows from an immature, ignorant, angsty teenager who's always looking for someone to be angry at, to a mature, accepting, understanding, and selfless adult by the game's climax. The butterfly shows up at both the beginning and the end of the game, symbolic of Chloe's change and transformation, and a reminder that while it is still the same Chloe Price, it is a completely different person in both instances. And the last developer confirmed spirit animal is Samuel and squirrels. Kind of easy to identify based off of his connection to squirrels and how he's the one who brings up the concept of spirit animals, but looking deeper into what they represent, it does make a lot of sense. Squirrels represent preparedness, working hard, and being ready for the times ahead. Speaking to Samuel during Chapter 4 shows this through his dialogue options, as most of them are him warning Max of something. He's not sure exactly what, but he knows that something is coming and wants Max to be prepared and consistently warns her. He's aware of the weird happenings around Arcadia Bay, which is great juxtaposition with the other characters in the game who seem to be quite oblivious. He also seems to be aware that Max has some sort of influence or power in the game, stating that she isn't very powerless and is very much showing that he knows something. Everything from here on out will be my pure speculation and analysis using evidence from Before the Storm and Life is Strange Season 1. Mr. Jefferson gets the owl. The owl is symbolic of intuition, wisdom, the capacity to see beyond a sea, and most importantly is seen as an announcer of death. While he is a psychopath, Mr. Jefferson is a very wise and intelligent person, able to conduct all of his photo shoots and murders without anyone so much as even considering him until Max comes along, and is even able to string everyone on to his protege Nathan Prescott instead. The capacity to see beyond deceit is quite ironic for his character given that he is a textbook psychopath. Psychopaths are able to live completely normal human lives and completely mask their true intentions, actions, or feelings. The owl being a symbol of death lines up where it appears in the game. There's an optional picture of a sleeping owl in the barn where Max and Chloe find the dark room, which they presume is being used by the Prescotts. But in actual reality is where Mr. Jefferson holds his photo shoots, where Rachel was killed, and maybe foreshadowing of Chloe end up being killed by Mr. Jefferson later on in the story. Next up we have is Rachel, represented by the Blue Jay. The Blue Jay can be symbolic of curiosity, fearlessness, loyalty, and protection. There isn't much about Rachel's personality in the original game, so we're going to have to look towards the prequel Before the Storm for this one. Rachel is a very odd character, perhaps one of the most complex throughout the entire series. Very intelligent, talented, and seemingly lives a near-perfect life. Despite this, she has a certain lack of satisfaction with it, driven by her fearlessness and curiosity, which will inevitably lead to her death. Rachel is fearless, standing up and confronting her father for seeing him kiss another woman while she's out with Chloe, and even dares to hit Damon over the head with a 2x4. She also seems to have a very natural curiosity in life, ready to throw away a perfect life just to experience something different and new. She also has a single earring of a bluebird, most likely a blue jay. The next instance of a blue jay in the series is in the original game. There is a nest of blue jay eggs in Chloe's garage after David gets kicked out. This leads to the next 2 points being rather how Chloe perceives Rachel rather than how she really is. Blue jays represent long-lasting relationships and friendships as they mate for life. As we find out, she ends up romantically and sexually involved with both Frank and Mark Jefferson after Chloe, which she never decides to tell her about. While it's never explicitly a romantic relationship between the two girls, it is for certain between Frank and Mr. Jefferson. I found it interesting that it is specifically a blue jay nest found in the garage, perhaps a representation of Chloe's skewed perception of Rachel, a lifelong friend or partner even past her disappearance, and one who protected and saved her. With another deep dive into the prequel, we'll have the dog representing Frank. The dog is symbolic of loyalty, faithfulness, reliability, and protection. Seeing Frank at first in the original game makes the selection seem quite strange, seeing as our first meeting with him, he just demands money and you end up almost shooting him. Playing deeper into the game, and especially playing the prequel, makes this way more apparent, however. Not only can he be represented by his own dog named Pompidou that he grows up and saves from a dogfighting ring as a puppy, he is a very loyal and reliable person, even if he wouldn't admit it. In Before the Storm, he consistently tries to defuse hostile situations that Chloe and Rachel get into, and it all culminates in Frank saving Chloe's life in the climax of the game, killing his former friend Damon after getting stabbed in the shoulder. In Life is Strange, we learn of his loyalty to Rachel Amber, as he keeps pictures of her and one of her bracelets with him. Once Max tells him that everything her and Chloe are doing is about finding Rachel, he is all in for helping out both of them. He doesn't explicitly show it, but he is a very loyal character, and his dog is a representation of that. For Joyce, we have the whale, representative of healing, family, strength, and communication. Whales are seen quite often throughout the game, not only being the namesake of the diner that she works at, but also plenty of whales end up dead on the beach. Joyce gets this animal due to how familial her story and contribution to Chloe is. She's trying her hardest to get past William's death and tries to help Chloe as much as possible. She realizes how much Chloe has against David, as he'll never be William, but she wants everyone to be a happy family in the end. Communication was an ironic point, seeing as Joyce continuously tries to communicate with Chloe both literally and figuratively, and Chloe isn't receptive. Joyce is a hardworking mother who only wants to heal and see her family come together in spite of past events. Seeing beached whales is a bad omen that heralds ill fortune, and while not exclusive in representing Joyce, it may be a representation of the scale in which Chloe is affecting her. As we'll find out, either ending does not end happy for Joyce. Either Joyce herself ends up dead or Chloe will, meaning that she'll never be able to see the family she wants. For Chloe's dad, William, we have him as the Raven. We'll have to look towards Before the Storm yet again, and while he's dead as of the events of the game, there are more moments of representation in his character. The key concept Ravens represent is encouragement to dive deeper and look for answers for much needed change. Chloe needs to change, but William isn't there to provide this encouragement. It provides a certain paradox for Chloe that she has to overcome over the course of these two games. She has to overcome her father's death and accept it, but the only one who would understand her best to help her through this is her dead father. Max, of course, does help, but it's a much slower development. Without the guidance of her father, Chloe is lost more or less, unwilling to change and accept life for what it is and what happens. Ravens appear periodically throughout the game and will always be a reminder of the guidance that she'll never be able to receive. Our final spirit animal will be the rabbit, representing Kate. The rabbit is a symbol for shyness, anxiety, vulnerability, and comfort. These traits align with what Kate is and deals with during the story. She's a shy, religious, studious girl just trying to live her school life in comfort, but gets preyed on by people like Victoria and psychopaths like Mr. Jefferson. She's a very vulnerable target for both figurative and literal predators in the story. She's prey for the popular high schoolers and falls prey to the resident psychopath at Blackwell. Also quite ironic that rabbits are a common prey for owls, perhaps symbolic of the wise yet evil owl preying on the innocent and vulnerable rabbit, the cold and calculated Mark Jefferson preying on the sweet and innocent Kate Marsh, who happens to have a rabbit for a pet. This concludes all the animals featured throughout the game that may have a symbolic appearance as a spirit animal representing any of the characters. There are instances of more animals in the game, such as fish, but nothing legitimately symbolic in any way that could represent a character. This is my interpretation of these spirit animals and the characters. Let me know if you agree, disagree, or have any other theories or any observations, and let me know. With such an open narrative, there's plenty of room for interpretation and perspective, and I hope to create more content like this in the future.